All right, good afternoon and welcome to the public board meeting of the Lethbridge School Division Board of Trustees for April 28th, 2026. To begin in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy and acknowledge the signatories of Treaty 7, the Métis people and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. Lethbridge School Division staff and students living and benefiting from Blackfoot Confederacy traditional territory honor the traditions of people who have cared for this land since time immemorial. Lethbridge School Division also acknowledges all Indigenous students, staff, and families who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our school community in the past, present, and in the future. Item 3 on our agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any trustees wanting to pull an item from the consent agenda into our agenda?
I'm catching it.
This is items from the consent agenda. Yeah, Christina.
Can I pull student leadership, please?
Yes. Student Leadership Liaison Report 3.4 will now become 14.3. Are there any other items? Allison.
Can I just, because I was looking for her to pull it, could I just recommend that it go under 11 because I see an action item within it rather than information item?
Oh, certainly.
Are you in agreement with that?
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much. The 14.3 will now become 11.4. Oh, yep. 11.3. I had a different note in there. It's fine. All right. Any other items? That's approved for the agenda. All right. Thank you. Now we move to number 4, approval of the agenda. Are there any emergent items that we're wanting to add? Christina.
I'd like to add 11.4 Victoria Park summer school fees.
That is added. Thank you very much. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Craig, those in favor? And that is carried. Is there anyone joining us online, Kristen? I will ask that. Not now. Okay, thank you very much. Please let us know if someone does join us online. Now, Craig?
I'm just making sure that because Tiffany's online with our meeting, are we able to see how she votes? Or is
when she is not online currently, when she is online, we will make sure she can see how she votes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. All right, we move on to number 5, approval of the minutes. Are there any amendments needed? Christina.
I'd like to amend the minutes to reflect that I moved, what did I do? I recused myself for a portion of the in-camera meeting.
Thank you very much. Are there any other amendments? I'm looking for a motion to approve as amended, please. Cheryl, thank you. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. There is no business arising from the minutes, and so we move to number 7, Associate Superintendent Reports, 7.1, Business and Operations. Kyle.
Okay, thank you. And so for the April report here, largely what the department has been going on, surprise, surprise, is budget. So Right, just a reminder, the division does have a budget that is roughly $160 million, and in accordance with our legislative requirements, our budget does have to be passed and submitted to the Alberta Education by the end of May, by May 31st. So we are working through those budget deliberations with the board budget committee and the instructional budget committee. So that is ongoing, and deadline again for that is May 31st. So we do have some more engagement dates scheduled, and those will come out as well. Some other facts and stuff like that too. So technology, on April 27th, our team did spend the day at the Epic Career Fair, speaking with students, different about the careers in technology and what it's like to be a technology professional. The department has also presented at our Power School admin session on April 13th, kind of how to use Power School and providing some tips and updates there. So we're very grateful that we have a team that is well adverse in the different software systems and overall the technology profession, that not only can we be a good a good neighbor and help with our other school boards, but also give back to the community through these various career fairs and whatnot. So grateful that we have the technology and the staff in that department who can help support that as well. And, another point on here that I think has been on, the past 3 or 4 reports is that the department is planning to replace the access points at the schools over the summer. So they're working on their scheduling. So that'll be a real exciting project too, that it's going to, help reduce the dead spots and improve the access points from the schools for next year. A good news on the insurance too. So just a reminder, Lethbridge School Division is part of the USIC Consortium Insurance Reciprocal. So the insurance reciprocal covers all the urban school divisions, public school divisions within Alberta. And our team over there has been doing an amazing job. And you see in the report, it's reducing the expense by about 4%, but that's not considering, and we were expecting it to increase by 15% with increase in value. So we did see substantial savings in there. And just a big credit to the team of USIC and the Marsh broker that we have there. They did a great job. So, because the division's total insurance is roughly $1 million. So 15-20% does add up to a substantial number that we did see some pretty good cost savings on. So that registration is effective May 31st or May 1st. So we had some good news information that we can incorporate into the budget deliberations as well. Then the transportation end, just a reminder that bus registration, if the forms have not already gone out, they will be going out here in the beginning of May. And we do encourage families to register as early as possible. With families registering early as possible, we are able to, plan and adjust the routes as needed for the next school year. We do understand there are some, sometimes difficulties in timelines, and we do have students and families registering throughout the whole year. But if you are able to register early, we do appreciate that. So. And then we're also working through our scheduling our bell times for next year. So we're hoping to share some more information at the beginning of May on that as well. That's essentially business and operations. I'd be happy to take any questions from this or anything else from the trustees.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Are there any questions? Christina.
Just want to say thanks for highlighting the insurance piece. It's always weird that I'm happy about insurance. It is really meaningful because we know that insurance has actually been one of the drivers of increasing costs that we haven't been able to necessarily keep up with over the years. And so it's great to see positive improvements.
I just want to say cheers to the tech department for their participation in EPIC. I was able to swing by the division booth and see them in action, engaging with students and giving them some hands-on activity. And I know even just the support that the division and the tech department gives to the program and to the event, it's greatly appreciated. All right, we will move on to 7.2 Instructional Services Report. Morag.
This report came up very quickly, given that Easter break was in there, so apologize for the brevity of the report, but and I apologize I did not include Stephen Combe in my DIS spotlight for coordinators, so he'll get his very own special spotlight in May. Just want to make sure that I bring the attention to our Indigenous education graduation on the 19th to our board, and then of course our Indigenous Education Awards on the 28th in Wilson. Those two events will be really lovely to be a part of in May, and just really would love to see you guys come out. Yes, and so I did really make an effort to highlight our leadership team, our management team on instructional services side. So we've got Joel Tailfeathers, Andrew Krull, Carly Ramatowski, and Lori Campmans. Those 4 folks are all coordinators under instructional services and do a tremendous amount of work in supporting our schools and students alike. We did receive, and Kyle and I got the chance to work together. Whoever would have thought instructional services and business affairs would work as closely as we have when the government announced that there would be one-time grant funding to support school safety. And so Kyle and I have been working with schools, doing surveys galore, trying to get feedback around what is important in each of the schools. And we're collaboratively going to be rolling out some information to administrators soon. Of course, I've shared work experience off campus, upcoming events, because I know you all really enjoy those events. I particularly enjoy May 14th, the careers event for RAP appreciation, because they feed you after you attend. They have a nice little barbecue at Legacy Pavilion, but again, that would be a really neat event for you to see and celebrate students who have had successful RAP placements throughout this school year. You have any questions? Fire away.
Craig.
Just a clarification. You mentioned May 19th for the grad. Is it May 19th or May 20th?
It is the 19th. There was an incorrect date floating around.
Okay.
So that's where you would have received that communication. And so if the board can request a calendar invite, that would be great.
So, well, then Edmund Parr's on the 20th. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Morag? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your report, Morag. We now move on to 7.3, human resources.
Okay, thank you. As we go through the month of April, you'll notice some increases in hires, and that's because we have been successful in having a full complement of our complexity teams, which would consist of 10 teachers and 20 educational assistants. So we have seen some increases there, if you're noticing that. I'll move to our HR Processes Administrator Advisory Committee. As you would have known from former reports, the committee had been working on developing a teacher interview question library. We have got a vast number of interview questions for teachers that we've created and we've presented to our principal groups. So we're ready to trial those in our upcoming spring staffing season, along with a universalized teacher interview form. So we're excited about the work that that committee is doing. Division Joint Health and Safety Committee also met. Just want to highlight the energy and enthusiasm from this group. It's a diverse group of some members who have lots of knowledge of OH&S and others who are brand new. So there's lots of learning and lots of asking questions, as well as establishing the new committee priorities and who the committee represents, and speaking about safety and talking about safety as working groups. So that's exciting as they roll out into planning for next year. Recruitment, our U of L walkthrough in April was successful. Always good to see those exciting faces of new grads. And then within a few days after seeing them, looking at their applications for our substitute teacher list. So those are always successful for Lethbridge School Division because of our great partnership with the University of Lethbridge. And I will move on to staff recognition. We had our Administrative Professionals Day, which I'm sure Mike will speak to. We're always grateful for our administrative professionals, so we always like to make sure we give them a shout out. Our years of service, so this is recognizing staff and the number of years that they've been with the Lethbridge School Division. That takes place in June, and I just want to make sure that you know that Carrie Fall will be reaching out to let you know the dates that those schools are hosting those events, so you'll be well situated to attend those and support those monumental events for our staff. Looking forward to our Friends of 51 event next week. That's an exciting new way that we're offering that recognition event. And I will highlight on the Teach Well partnership. Our data collection for our 4 pilot schools in partnership with the University of Lethbridge has been completed, and now we are moving into the data review stage and planning next steps and communication. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robbie. I will open it up to questions. Craig.
Yeah, can you further explain the Teach Well, what exactly we're working with on the university?
You bet. So we've been having further conversation with the Faculty of Education with the University of Lethbridge, specifically Dawn Burley in the Faculty of Education. Her and I have been working closely together for about a year now, looking at grant opportunities so that we can work together to gather more data on staff workplace well-being. The university would be specifically interested in their 0 to 5 years experience of teachers, as well as teacher leaders. And of course, as a school division, we're interested in all of our staff workplace well-being. And so we did manage to succeed with a small grant amount, which we proceeded to have 4 pilot schools participate in completing the Guarding Minds at Work survey, as well as some focus group discussion that the university hosted. And so we're really excited about the data that we're going to be able to look at. We had 95% participation rate out of approximately 204 staff members that participated in the 4 schools. So I will be keeping you apprised to the progress and some of the things that we're learning as we go.
Thank you. Craig, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, well, sort of. And I know it's too early to know, but it's just wondering what our administration thinks of the announcement by the government on expedited teaching certificates, and and have we started to look at how that would affect our division, or is that waiting for more information?
You're it's a great question, Craig, and you're exactly right. It's a little bit too early to be able to tell. I have not personally, I can't speak for my counterparts. I haven't had personal conversations yet about what our administrators think of that. And there definitely would be some other information we would require in order to move forward in that direction. Did you want to speak to any of that? Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none in the room or online, thank you, Robbie, for your report.
Thanks.
We will now move on to superintendent reports, 8.1 assurance priorities report. Mike.
Yeah, and I'll get into it. And yeah, Robbie, I think you covered the administrative professionals and the appreciation we have for them and their work. And it was nice around the office here, made sure that we recognize that day. So yeah, really good stuff. Okay, I'll get into the assurance priorities. As always, I'm just going to hit some of the highlights, but of course, if there's questions, always happy to answer them. So starting off on stakeholder engagement, the last bullet point, Robbie sort of mentioned this already, but just really appreciate the Human Resources Department being out at various career fairs and connecting. We've done really well filling our complexity teams, which was, going to be a hard lift, but that was due to, in large part, to connecting and getting out there and making sure that we are connecting with people in the community. So really appreciate it. Then under advocacy for education, just Jesse and his team, the Scholastic Esports featuring Lethbridge School Division and the work that's been done. We know we've got great esports in this division, and our tech department has really been a leader, not only in the division, but also across the entire province in that space. So just really appreciate their work. Under effective assessment, so going on to the next page, I think, Kristen, you'll see Carmen and Richard, they're doing their work with 6 more EAL intakes, and we did get an opportunity to provide the board with a little more information about what that process looks like, and just really the personalized service that Carmen and Richard and Lucy provide for folks when they're coming into our school division news. Really appreciate that. And then under responding effectively to student needs, yeah, you're good there. Actually, go back up. Yep, that's good. I won't go into it, but you can see Lori in there visiting schools to observe and collaborate around strategies. Carmen providing some additional support for EAL for teachers. And so that's just a really good example of when I talk about system level supports, school level supports, and classroom level supports. Those are system level supports that are really working with the classroom, and we need all of those areas working together to support our kids as effectively as possible. Then if you scroll down a little bit further under professional growth, there's a lot going on. Yeah, just go back right there, Kristen. Thank you. You know, you'll see Aaron Herkett and Jody Babke, a whole bunch of grades 7 to 9 curriculum updates and meetings. As you know, there's new curriculum coming in those grades. It's in the piloting phase for next year, and there will be, you know, we will be piloting parts of the curriculum, this new curriculum, and then it's implemented, I believe, the year after. This has been the new curriculum presents both challenges and opportunities. It is a lot of work for teachers to implement new curriculum. There's no question about that. Sometimes the shifts in curriculum are small and doesn't require a whole bunch of revisions. Other times, which is what we've been facing in the province, they're pretty significant, and it requires teachers to make some really big changes to their teaching. And that can be challenging when you're already busy trying to just find some time to carve out some time to actually work on curriculum. The opportunity is, of course, it gives us a really good chance to take a look at our practice, rejig what we're doing, and it also gives a really good chance for teachers to collaborate. And we want to make sure one of our areas of emphasis is not only to collaborate horizontally, so all the grade 7 teachers to get together, but we've got 7 and 8 and 9 curriculum coming in. And that's a great opportunity to vertically align what we're doing and collaborate vertically. So there's consistency from grade 7, 8, and 9. And that requires not only schools getting together internally, but different schools getting together. And again, that's where the system level supports brings those folks together so people at the classroom level can really collaborate and hopefully make a really big difference for kids and just continue to improve our learning and our teaching practice. So definitely going to be challenging. We're doing our best to make sure we're providing supports and resources and getting people to collaborate, but there's also great opportunity here. And then when you go into learning support, safe and caring culture, you'll see that Richard attended 50 school visits for classroom support. So definitely a busy fella. And then you'll see on successful early start for students, the early education programs, there's been a pop-in for new children and families to meet the staff. And our feedback from town hall really emphasizes this type of practice. A lot of our feedback from stakeholders was how much they appreciated those meet the teacher days and those opportunities to come in and get to know the staff and get to know the lay of the building, that sort of thing. So we definitely continue to do that work, and we definitely hear that feedback from our stakeholders through town hall and a whole variety of sources. So I'll just kind of keep rolling unless there's questions.
Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Craig?
And I've probably been told this before. I know what STEM is, but what's STEAM under student growth and achievement?
Yeah, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math.
Okay.
Pretty sure. You might have to Google that acronym to make sure I'm right, but.
Cheryl?
No problem.
Thanks. Mike, I have a question about all of this new curriculum that's coming out. I know there's multiple subject areas, multiple grade levels, and I do appreciate that the division is making a lot of effort to provide supports and resources. But my question is whether or not the new curriculum is arriving with adequate resources, or whether there's going to have to be a lot of effort on the part of teachers to gather those resources.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a great question. Based on past history, resources have been a challenge. And, you know, it's changed. I'm not sure why the landscape has changed. I can remember a time when I've been involved in curriculum change, and there tended to be a real side by side of curriculum development and resource development. And that doesn't seem to happen as much. And so one of our learnings from some of the curriculum change that we've done recently is we do need additional support for resources. And again, that's where the system level and, you know, really works to create those resources, get people together to create those resources. And so that's part of what we're doing, but we definitely need more support in that area for sure. Yeah, it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge for our teachers as well.
Craig.
Yeah, I might just add to it. In the past, when there was new curriculum, there was companies that had textbooks. And you would see that the contributing writers were from BC, Alberta, and it's sometimes just Alberta. And that isn't happening anymore. And so I think it becomes very difficult, as you were saying, for teachers to find that material that's required, because I'm not even sure if there's a book publishing company in Canada anymore for textbooks. That's how bad it's become.
Any other questions? Okay, keep on going, Mike.
Okay, donations and support. Just really appreciative to Mr. Mike's Restaurant for their donation, you know, for money towards our breakfast snack program. It's I say it every time, and I'll say it every time I have this opportunity, how grateful we are for the community that just wraps around our schools, provides those supports for our kids. And we have a lot of money that comes into this division just to provide students with nutritious snacks and some food to help them get through their day. So really appreciate that. Then the acknowledgements of schools. We've got Winston Churchill here, and a very colorful outlay. And I mean, it's just like all of our schools. Like, you can just see the multifaceted layer of all the things that they do. And you know, in there, they were nominated for the Betty Grigg Award for Inclusion, which is really exciting. Nicholas Sharon received the award, I believe it was last year. So pretty cool to see our schools getting nominated. And you know, whether Winston Churchill wins the award or not, they certainly do a great job in that space. Lots of opportunities for students. Like, if you read through this, you just see, you know, there's academic opportunities, there's arts opportunities, there's athletics opportunities, you know, and those are really prevalent in all of our schools. You'll also see volunteering in the community, that they have student clubs that do that. I don't know that it's specifically mentioned in here or not, but, you know, the IB program that they run to give kids academic experiences, involvement with the science fair. And then I have to find out what this is, but one of the students won an award for something that they did related to the best school year ever. And I'm like, I got to find out what that is, because that just sounds really exciting to me. So yeah, just a great highlight of Winston Churchill, all the things we do for our kids. You know, it is our academics are at the core of what we do, no question about it, but we provide so much more beyond the academic experience for our kids. And that's something that I think Lethbridge School Division has always done well. And all you have to do is look through this report and you see it pretty evident.
Okay. Craig.
I was impressed with that. And I'm just wondering, like, and you mentioned it, Mike, about academics. And I know that we honor provincial champions, Canadian champions, but I'm wondering if we do enough to honor those that receive, I mean, to get an $80,000 scholarship. Two of them got $80,000 scholarships. I'm wondering if we couldn't do more as a board to recognize those students in all of our high schools that are getting some type of a scholarship like that. I mean, there's the Rutherford scholarship, but when you get an $80,000 scholarship, that's something remarkable. And I think maybe the board should look at having those students come and recognize them on behalf of the division of their excellent academic and do all this. I mean, Chinook's probably got a couple and LCI too. So I just pass that on as a feeling that we probably should do more to recognize that academic achievement.
Thank you, Craig. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Education Week.
Yeah, okay, Education Week. Yeah, it's obviously already happened, and so I know that trustees were involved in making sure that we got some treats out to schools and that sort of thing. So really, Kristen, appreciate your effort in moving all that forward, to all the trustees who were able to help with that. And, you know, just I think really just want to say a huge thank you to everybody in education, obviously in our division, but across the province. This has been an exceptional year, very challenging year in many ways. I look back at my notes from what we were dealing with last year at this time, and it was a lot. There's a lot that's happened in education. But, you know, just to make sure, and I know the board echoes this, that how grateful we are for the work of our staff, how grateful we are for public education, and just incredibly honored that we have over 12,000 students that come to our schools every day, and we get the opportunity to educate them. And that's a pretty big deal. And we thank also the parents and families who send their kids. We know the kids are the center of your world, and the fact that you trust us with them is something that we're incredibly honored by. So yeah, pretty fortunate to be in this profession, and it was a great celebration of education last week.
Craig.
I would just like to appreciate Kristen for letting someone know that there were still 4 boxes left to be delivered last. I forgot. And I appreciate both Cheryl and Tiffany volunteering to do it, but I got them out there. So, and I appreciate the reminder.
Any other comments or questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, now we're in the calendar of events. As always, trustees will provide us with information because we know we don't always have everything. Also, there is a typo on here. Indigenous grad is the 19th, not the 20th. So just be aware of that. And Kristen, if we could make a note to change that in the agenda package, please. Here's the one thing before we get into any changes or additions. It is not hard to take a look at this calendar of events and see how much is going on right now. And so May and June are incredibly busy times for schools. They're also incredibly busy time for trustees. You're at a lot of different events, and we know you get to as many as you can, and it's appreciated, but we also know you can't make it to everything. But just wanted to say thank you for your work as well. Any additions, changes, mistakes on that?
Thanks, Mike. We will move on to board chair reports. First is 9.1, the Welcome Back Breakfast event. It's hard to believe that we're already talking about the Welcome Back Breakfast, when we're still in the marathon to the end of this school year. But in tradition, the board and the Education Center have hosted a pancake breakfast for our staff family on August. At the end of August. So this year's event will be held on August 28th, 2026 at Chinook High School. Are there any questions or further recommendations from the board on this event? Christina.
I think it might just be worth, I love flipping pancakes and I love the event. It's a wonderful way to start the year. But I think just maybe out of courtesy for the new board, maybe we want to just like affirm that that's still the strategy we want to go with.
Certainly.
If that, because this will be the first round, right?
This will be the first round.
It might just be worth
certainly
affirming that that's our intention.
Sure. If you would like to. Okay.
Yeah, so just especially for the new trustees. So a few years ago, we went to the Welcome Back breakfast, and the whole concept was just to make it a little more informal. So pancake breakfast, pancake sausages, that sort of thing. Essentially, we arrive early, we're flipping pancakes, we're serving pancakes, and the concept was to have something nice and informal for people to say thank you, to also just bring people together. They haven't seen each other for a few months, and to sort of get ready for the start of the year. And then I think the other thing that I think is really important is I think there's a visual image that I always like of us serving the staff breakfast. I think that's really important. And so I think generally speaking, the feedback that we've had has been really positive on it, but that's sort of the concept and a very quick overview of what the morning looks like. It's an early morning, and knock on wood, the weather has to keep cooperating for us, but that's really a good day.
Setup begins at 6:30, and breakfast starts at typically 7:30ish. We're usually done by 9:30. It's a really great event for staff to connect before heading back to their school buildings. Is this, so looking around, is this an event that people would still want to?
Yeah, in the
Host.
past, there used to be a keynote, and we've stopped that.
Yeah, so historically there was a keynote where we would all attend inside one gymnasium, and a few challenges came. We no longer could fit inside one gymnasium space as a staff community, and staff members really expressed that they wanted to connect with each other and get into their classrooms and get ready to get going for the school year. And so this was a way to give opportunity to connect with them and give them a chance to connect with each other and honor their request to step into their classrooms and school buildings. All right, hearing nothing further, we look forward to the pancake breakfast on August 28th. All right, 9.2, community conversations. Community conversations is an opportunity for stakeholders to engage with trustees face-to-face in a casual setting and discuss topics of interest or concern around education. The next date for this event is Thursday, May 14th at 9 a.m. at the Westminster Community Hall. And so this will be up on our community engagement website as well. So we look forward to all who are able to come attend. 9.3 ASBA engagement. Bill 25, an act to remove politics and ideology from classrooms and amend the Education Act 2026, was introduced on March 31st. The Alberta School Boards Association continues to monitor the proposed legislation and forthcoming regulations while engaging with school boards. To date, the association has scheduled 2 dates for board chairs and superintendents to discuss this item and engage. The first was held on April 16th. It was an online internal board chairs meeting on Bill 25, and coming up on May the 4th is a board chair's ministerial engagement that will be held in Edmonton. And so I will be attending that, and our superintendent will be attending virtually. Any questions? Brooke?
And the piece on the 12th, the webinar on the 12th that ASB is putting on the May the 12th at noon.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Online.
I don't know the title of that, but there is an engagement on May the 12th. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay.
Christine, sorry.
Yes.
At this time, I'm not sure if you can, but is it premature to ask what other board chairs are reporting as to the response or the feeling or the general sentiment around Bill 25?
I think what I can share is there's a general sentiment that we're waiting for further information. Yeah. Brooke.
I can add to that. I heard that the bill will be passed before the end of the school year and that the regulations will come in over the summer. And I don't know if that's deliberate or not, but just want to know your thoughts on that.
That is the timeline we're understanding. And so certainly looking forward to opportunity to meaningfully engage and give perspective from our division as educational leaders on how best to move forward. And I think giving context of potential impacts on the legislation. And so we look forward to those opportunities to engage. Any other questions? Okay, our next item is 10.1, and we're 10 minutes ahead of time. And that's distinct program presentations. Let's see. The next one's policy. Okay, the next two items are presentations. So we're going to move ahead to 11.2, policy 1001.3, communication and channels of communication.
Thank you, Christine. As you can see, the Policy Advisory Committee has undertaken review of the 1000 section and has spent several of the past months working on putting some policy forward to the board. And to that end, we would like to recommend that the board review policy 1001.3. And if they find it acceptable, it would be, I would like to put a motion forward to have it approved for first reading. So just as a bit of background, so the Policy Advisory Committee is a board committee whereby I chair that committee, and Trustee Tiffany Hill also sits on that committee. And the other members of that committee include parents, staff from the division, administrators, academic staff, and so on. So it's a very robust committee. The 1000 section of the policy manual focuses on parent and guardian involvement, school councils, fundraising at schools and that sort of thing. So it was a very relevant place for this committee to do that work on policy. So I believe you have received the backgrounder, which shows how the policy was amalgamated. One of the goals of the board is to reduce the number of policies by synthesizing, aggregating, and appropriately placing the content of policies. And sometimes that means moving it out from policy into procedure. And so we were able to look at I think it was 12 or 14 of the policies within the 1000 section. And then we had some really great work done by Rod, his last name escapes me, Scott, thank you very much. And what he did was he built a matrix whereby he looked at themes and then he assigned policies to different themes, and that allowed us to work towards amalgamating some of the existing policies. We drew on the expertise of our consultant who contributed in helping with the organization and also providing a review. And we also sent the policy after numerous rounds at PAC out to the public for feedback. We received that feedback and we incorporated it into the final document, which I am presenting today.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl, can I have a motion presented to begin discussion, please?
Yes, it is recommended that, I move that the board approve policy 1001.3, communication and channels of communication for first reading.
Thank you very much, and I will open it up to discussion. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Craig?
No, I think it's pretty well written. The only matter that I'm looking at is under the dispute resolution. There are times when, and I mean, if it involves a student, it goes through this, but there are, I think, some times that it wouldn't go through a teacher or a principal. It might go higher, and there's no place other than it says matters involving governance may be conveyed directly to board members. Is there a place that we should mention that there could be a dispute that doesn't go through teacher? And I'm trying to think of one, maybe
Yes.
busing would be a good example.
We did talk about that at length at the committee. And if you look at point 4.2, when it talks, it's the right before dispute resolution, it does say that it recognizes that there are different types of concerns and they can be addressed at different levels, that this isn't a binding pathway.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, 4.1 also says that, where it says bring questions or concerns to the level of the organization most directly connected to the matter, which is exactly the point you raised. And I just as an aside information for the board, that feedback actually came from when we put the policy out for feedback. We received a number of people feedback that said exactly what you said, Craig, like this doesn't always make sense. And, we were kind of looking at it going, yeah, that's great feedback, because we've had that chart in place it's been in place for a long time, right? But it was missing that nuance that we all understood is you have to bring it to the right level of the organization. So yeah, I think we've addressed that, and that was based on feedback that we received.
Any other questions? All right. The motion is on the floor. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. And we will bring it back in May for a second reading. All right. Okay, we have our presenters in the room with us, and so I will invite our members from Emmanuel Christian Elementary and Secondary to the front of the room. Are you all coming? You're supporting, you're cheering from the back. Okay. Barbie, just push the button. Yeah,
There we go. Okay. Just like on Teams. All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to present to you today and share a little bit about our school. Emmanuel Christian Schools is one school, but with two campuses. And so we thought that the most efficient way to present to you would be to divide it between the two campuses. So given that I'm the elementary school, I get to go first, and then my esteemed colleague Matthew will take you through the secondary. So I think that a history piece is always a great place to start to understand where our school came from. And Emmanuel Christian Schools started in 1962. So that means we are in our 63rd year as a school. 52 of those years were as an independent school, and we are just wrapping up our 11th year with the division. If you want to learn more about the history of the school, it's on our website, and it gives you a more detailed breakdown from there. So until 1997, both schools were located on one campus. And in 1997, the Society purchased the George McKillop School along Fifth Avenue North, and the elementary campus moved to that site. So that is where we presently are. Initially, the school was started by a number of local Reformed churches. And now we have over 50 different churches represented at our school. We still have some legacy families that are composed of third and fourth generation, but we also have a number of new to Canada families and new to Alberta, new to our division. So it's really become diverse. Part of our school formation is also the Society for Christian Education in Southern Alberta. And their mission statement is up there for you. Their part of overseeing our school is Bibles, buses, and building, because we still own our building. And so they take care of those components for us. And then the educational pieces fall under the division. So our executive director is Monica Lowen. She's here with us today. And the board of directors that she oversees are parents from within our community, with representation from various sectors. So in addition to our partnership with the Society and with Lethbridge School Division, we're also a part of the Prairie Center for Christian Education. And that Involves a number of schools throughout Alberta and some in Manitoba. And very soon, Matthew will be stepping into the role of executive director of that organization. With our Prairie Center for Christian Education, they support us in a number of ways. They host a convention in October for us. There's a leadership cohort that meets in May every year that supports us as admin. There's professional growth groups, and then there's specialized training for administrators and teachers that are new to our school and to the Prairie Center. And that is called TFT. So TFT stands for Teaching for Transformation. And all of the teachers who are new to Emmanuel receive that training. It's a 4-module course, and the society funds that. And what they really look at is inviting the students to be to understand their part in God's story, to be nurtured, and to empower them in their learning. So when we think about education, I know we think of 60 minutes, 60 hours, and 60 years. And what is it that we really want students to remember? Well, it's the 60 years. So I'm going to ask Kristen to put the next slide up there. And I'm going to ask you this question. What is your deep hope for Lethbridge School Division, for the students, the staff, and the community? What is your deepest hope that people will take away for 60 years? At our school, deep hopes play a really important role. It's the foundation of who we are. We have a collective deep hope that is equipping learners, nurturing faith, and flourishing in community. It's displayed in our school, and then throughout our school, our teachers, our support staff, our Learning Commons facilitator, each have their deep hope as well, and it aligns with our collective deep hope. It's a living document. Those deep hopes can change, but the foundations remain the same, and every year we look at that together. So next to deep hopes, the deep hopes provide the foundation of what we do at our school. And then there's something, we also have deep hopes for the spaces within our building. And we worked on those together for what we really wanted to see. And I'll just give Kristen time to click through so you can get a little taste of what those are. So with deep hopes being the foundation of what we do, you will also see something called storylines that are in our classrooms. And storylines are similar to like a class theme. They're woven into everything that the teachers do, and they reference them multiple times. This one that you see in front of you is from kindergarten. When God makes a promise, God keeps a promise. And in grade 1, theirs is Let Your Light Shine. And these are wonderful ways to remind students of their part and to continue to bring back everything that you do to that theme. With Shine Your Light, our grade 1 teacher does a fabulous job of even using this with classroom behavior and recess incidents. Are you shining your light? And I think anyone that has had her for a teacher will remember that for 60 years. Shine your light. Then in addition to the storyline, we have 10 biblical through lines. And these through lines are woven throughout our curriculum. We use the curriculum that's in the program of studies, but then these through lines can also be found in them. And so there are 10 of them, and I'll again let Kristen scroll through them. And the magnet that you have represents those 10 characters. These illustrations were created for the Prairie Center of Christian Schools through the author of the book, The Dot, which is a popular one, Peter H. Reynolds, created these. And they are throughout our building as well, in our hallways and in our gym. And these through lines are not only woven through the curriculum, but they also provide a wonderful common language throughout our school in talking about the various pieces that we do. Community building is something everyone can relate to. Servant working, helping our neighbors, those are all pieces that can be woven into what we teach, but also into how we live. One little piece that we also like to do, we started this year, is we have the characters similar to what are on your magnets, and these are little encouragement cards. And so when we see a student who's doing something remarkable or someone that just needs encouragement in what they continue to do, they get a note from the staff member. And those through lines are at the bottom, and often we speak to that as well. And then in addition to the through lines, we have formative learning experiences. And this is where you take the curriculum and the community service part and you bring them together. And our blessing box is something that has been going on for just over a year, but it is definitely something that makes an impact on our community. And so the grade 3s, this was their formative learning experience. They were learning about community and how we support our neighbors and what that looks like. And this was a very tangible way for them to do that. So every day after the lunch recess, a group of students go out with one of our EAs and they replenish what is in the blessing box. And our community, our extended community has provided for that blessing box. We've also baked muffins for that. It's a very intentional piece and well received. And just this past week, we arrived at school and the blessing box was completely full. And usually that box is empty when we arrive in the morning. And it was completely full. And as the students were coming off the bus, they were like, why is the blessing box full? They were so curious. But it was one of our neighbors who actually came and filled the blessing box. And we thought, what a wonderful partnership that has been for us. So we have a few of those. We have the blessing box. Our grade 1s love to make cards for our neighborhood and deliver those. And kindergarten, in alignment with their centers around fiscal responsibility and learning about money, collect money and they go grocery shopping. And then they take it to the food bank and learn about the people that will be accessing those supports there. And then this year, our grade 5s, in alignment with their language arts, have been recording books. And so these books can be, the teachers can use them for the students to listen to. And it's been a wonderful partnership between our grade 5s and some of our lower grades. And you will see in front of you learning targets. And so these learning targets take the outcomes that are in the program of studies, and it's again an intersection with faith. And so you can see the one up here. I can use the imagination God gave me to play as community helpers. These are wonderful reminders for us. They're displayed in every classroom, and obviously they change as we go through the different units. I think, is there one more on there, Kristen? Okay, that brings us back to our through lines. Now, this handout that I gave you here goes into those essential practices a little bit more. I won't do a deep dive into those, but that's just an expansion of what we've been talking about today. And I think with our through lines and our deep hope and our storylines, it really speaks to intentionality around what we do. Everything is purposeful and is intentionally aligned with those different pieces. It also provides a common language, as I said. This is from one of the classrooms where the teacher has taken pictures of her students in various roles, displaying those through lines as they go through their days. And then in addition to that common language, we gather collectively for chapels and for praise times. And with our chapels, we have multi-grade groups. So our kindergartners through to grade 5 are part of a group which is led by a teacher. And it's a wonderful way of building community a little bit farther and helping to know one another. Again, with community, we have a teacher meeting on Monday mornings that we chat about the week. And then on Wednesday mornings, I meet with our support staff so that they are an intentional part of that conversation. If they have questions to bring, this is the opportunity for that. It affirms their work and continues to build a cohesive staff. We're fortunate in that due to our staff meetings being on a different day, our support staff are also a part of that for a part of the meeting, which has been great. And the final little piece that I have for you is just a quick video. At the end of each day, we usually have a closing circle, and there are classroom routines, as you know. And so this class has a specific song. It says, everyone has a place in the choir, and they know what they need to do. And we're going to click it in just a moment. If you see a student that is cleaning a desk, it's not their desk. They're cleaning it for someone else. And so I'm just going to ask Kristen to click on that, and it'll give you a little taste. I think it's a special privilege when you get the broom. So that gives you a little taste about our campus, and I'm going to leave you with the question that I posed near the beginning of this presentation. What is your deep hope for Lethbridge School Division? What do you hope stands for 60 years for the teachers, the students, and the community? Thank you for your time.
Hello. Oh, sorry about that. Well, to follow a Barbie Wall presentation is no small thing, but I'll do my very, very best. Barbie's a dear friend, a dear colleague. We started as colleagues as classroom teachers at the elementary campus when I would have started as a classroom teacher in 2008. I was teaching grade 6, Barbie was teaching grade 4 at the time. And so it's a really amazing privilege to be able to walk this journey of school administration together. When I talk about a manual, it's hard for me to imagine my life without a manual because I'm a product of the school. I went to a manual myself, K through 12. And so when we talk about this legacy of 63 years, that's something I very much experienced. And so it's been a real privilege to come back and serve the school as a teacher, but then also as a school administrator now. You know, when we think about our schools, yes, they very much are different schools in a lot of different ways, but we walk alongside families. We share families all the way, in some cases, from K through 12. We also get the privilege of welcoming new families, right, as they enter our school at various points along the way. So at my campus, we get them in grade 6. And, you know, they come into school, these cute little people who adolescence hits, and all these different elements of their life start to become a little bit bigger, right? They start asking bigger questions. They're starting to figure out who they are, right? In the world, their place in it, and asking some big questions. The real privilege that we have is the ability to walk alongside these students and walk alongside our families in regards to, again, the foundational, deep approaches that we get to have towards faith and learning. So if you could just go back to the previous slide. So we talk about deep hopes a lot, right? I think we all have deep hopes. We all have hopes for ourselves. We have hopes for our community. So we talk explicitly about that. By the time we get our students in grade 6, they've had a lot of talk around those through lines, right? And so at some point the kids go, yeah, through lines, right? And not that they're not meaningful, but at some point it needs to move past sometimes those 10 through lines into now, okay, how does this work with life, right? And so we talk about deep hope, we talk about storylines. We use the term story a lot because I think we all resonate with story, right? In the sense of the stories we hear, you know, the stories that we form within our relationships with others, within community. So when we talk about our deep hope as a secondary campus, It's a little bit different, and we have a different vision statement, our deep hope from the elementary campus, but we talk about with our students about living authentic faith, pursuing wisdom and truth, right? And so we don't want our students to exist within a bubble. We don't want to be building up high walls. We want them to be within the community, develop of character, values, but then again, are rooted in faith, and this comes from their upbringing within their homes, but then that also translates into the school. And so we talk about our deep hope, and we developed this as a staff a couple of years ago. And it's always a process of refinement, right? What do our students need? What do we need to be as a school, right? To, again, impact our students. So if you move to the next slide. Every year we develop a school theme, and this theme is kind of wrapped up into our school chapels. We talk about it often in terms of our assemblies. And so this year we developed a school theme entitled All In. And so when Barbie talks about 50 church denominations that are part of our school, that's diverse. And this comes from a lot of different, real diverse ethnic, cultural backgrounds as well. You know, when I say I'm a product of a man of Christian schools, and I'll just lay it out there, Dutch Reformed, right? Churches that started the school. That's who I am. Now, I don't exclusively identify as that, but we also need to understand that Emmanuel's evolving. Emmanuel's school community is changing. So how do we develop a culture of community, of belonging, in which we tell all of our students, regardless of what ethnicity, cultural background you come from, family, you're all in, right? And you're part of our community. So that takes work. I think sometimes we think, well, let's just be welcoming and kind. Well, no, we have to actually be really intentional about that. So we're really trying our best to, again, impress upon our students the role that they play within that. So this year's theme is All In, and really the anchor text from God's word that we read within the Bible says, by this, everyone will know that you're my disciples, that you love one another. And so as an extension of that, we then talk about with our students within our theme for the year. You can move to the next slide, Kristen, if you don't mind, sorry. We talk about this idea of being a people of embrace and not exclusion, right? So when we talk to our students, we want to be a people of kindness and welcome, understanding, respect and dignity and hospitality. I think that's really, really important. And then we look at ways in which, how do we exclude, whether intentionally or unintentionally? So we talk about our students about that in terms of the overall theme of being all in. Move to the next slide. You know, one unique aspect that I wanted to highlight with my campus, we decided this year to pilot a program. It's a digital wellness program, and it's called JOMO. And so it's essentially, it's called the Joy of Missing Out. And so this is again, a fully comprehensive program that we signed up with. And really the hope and intent of it is that we have our students reflect upon their digital practices, not just at school, but also at home as well. And so this idea of you know, when we speak as a community of faith that Jesus came to this world to give us life in abundance and fullness, some of the digital practices of the day here take away from that. And I think we can all acknowledge that. And I think in all of our schools within school divisions, I've had really rich conversations with colleagues about the ways in which we're seeing tech impact schools, right? And impact our students. And so this program, we just started it this year. We really want to impress upon our students about how we want to be creators instead of consumers, more as a creator as opposed to a consumer. We want to be more active in our lives than passive. We also want to be doing things together and not just alone, right? And so if we look at all those different practices, it's about good health, right? That we want for our students. And so this catchphrase, they have a number of different catchphrases, but this idea of experience the joy of missing out on the right things to make space for what matters most. And so again, it's some of those pieces, and then as well, this is a program that does have elements of faith and Christian worldview, but it also is a program that I know I've talked with those colleagues in the school division. And it also is a program that can be more characters value based. So we're really excited about it. We're going to pilot for one more year, but we really think this is an area of life, digital wellness, that also is playing into who we are as our school. And then, let's forget. You know, lastly, I just want to talk about our school. You know, we use a phrase at my school in the sense of kids being in process. You know, we really view the integration of faith to be the foundation of who we are. It's not just an add-on. We don't live in a values neutral society, right? I think that we really try to help our kids to understand who they are. And we believe that all of our children have been created for a special purpose in God's world. And so we start with that. And then from there, it's an expression of educating them. I believe that we have a great academic environment, that we support kids in that way. We believe in educating the whole child, right? So that's not just academics, that's also in character and values, athletics, fine arts, different ways in which they can develop gifts and talents. But these are kids in process, and I find at my campus, kids, as they get towards the time in which we're going to graduate them, are starting to ask big questions about the world, right, and their place in it. And so we very much view it as a privilege to be able to step into that space, not perfectly, but to do our best to help them to understand that they're loved, they're known, and that they have a place in this world. So that's the work that we endeavor to do at Emmanuel. And I just want to say, 10 years into our partnership with Lethbridge School Division, maybe I can speak for Barbie here, but we've really appreciated all the support that we receive, not from just board trustees, from executive council, our colleagues. We're a school where schools are small in a lot of ways, right? I'm not a big high school, but my colleagues in high school have welcomed us, embraced me as a leader, encouraged, and we really, really appreciate that partnership. So again, I just want to thank for the work that you do for supporting us and allowing us to be an alternative program within Lethbridge School Division. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt and Barbie, for giving us a little peek in the window of what the experience is at Emmanuel Elementary as well as Emmanuel Secondary. I will open it up to the board for any questions or comments. Brooke.
I was on the board previous, and you weren't involved in the division, and from the outside looking in, it's been a really good partnership, and I think it's really important that you're part of this community, and our community grows and is much better off because you're involved. And thank you for that. Whoever came up with the idea to join the school division, I think, was wise and had deep hope.
Allison.
Thank you for coming today, and I just want to share that I appreciate the work that both of your schools do, and just offering to our families and our community what you do is so important to us as a school division, and I think it's very valued in our community, so thank you. I've been able to come more so to yours, but I did come to the Christmas event this year, and in the past I certainly came to a number of events, and one of the things that is so important to note, and not that it's not at other schools, but just what community means. There's not a parking spot to be found, and they're daytime events often. They probably do evening stuff too, but those gyms are full. And when I came to the one at Christmas, and there was a gentleman that was sitting beside me, and he was a grandpa of some of the students, and he came early to visit for Christmas, and I think he was from Manitoba. And just everybody is welcome, and they all feel part of that family. And I think that it's just so important what you guys offer, and you offer our families what they need. And I want to say thank you. Thank you.
Craig.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. Of course, I got to go to Emmanuel Christian Elementary last year, and what a wonderful time it was. And I'm still amazed that you used to have a choir director that could keep grade kindergarten to grade 5s all seated quietly in a chapel singing. Like, I was just amazed. And of course, I've known Matt for a long time. He played basketball with my son, and against my son too, as they were growing up. But I always appreciate, and I've had a little experience in my other division of working with a couple of Christian schools in Calgary, but I appreciate the outlook, and I appreciate the fact that you have now more than just one congregation. You have a number of congregations, which helps with the diversity and the and the learning for all of the kids in your school division about the different viewpoints people can have and the different attitudes and that. And I think it's great. And I look at some of that process, and I'm glad you're sharing it with the division on the especially on technology and that. But I just appreciate you being in the division and for the work you do within our division. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the time that you've spent with us, presenting your school cultures to us. And Barbie, I appreciated your question of what is the deep hope for Lethbridge School Division. I think that question grounds and gives direction to what we do, what we all do in this room, why we are here. I know that is a question I've reflected on as I've stepped into trustee leadership, and I know that staff in your school and staff in all the buildings reflect in some way, in some phraseology of that term. What is the why? I guess would be another way to say that. But what is the deep hope of that we have for the kids in our community as well as the staff members in our community? So we are grateful for the partnership that we have with Lethbridge Christian or Emmanuel Christian. Sorry. Oh, that was. Oh. Guys, I did that publicly. Emmanuel Christian Elementary and Secondary as part of the Lethbridge School Division family. You give us a depth to who we are, and we are grateful for the light and the diversity that you bring to our division. Thank you. All right, we now have another presentation from Nicole Agnes Davidson.
All right. Cynthia and I are very excited to spend the next 15, 20 minutes here with you, sharing a little bit more about École Agnes Davidson and the French immersion program. So thank you very much for the time. So the song you just heard and had the pleasure of hearing, it's a song. There we go. Is that good? Okay. It's a song that we always play at Carnaval. So when we are doing our Carnaval de Quebec, we welcome the students into the gym, but we have to awake Bonhomme from his winter slumber. So we play that song and he comes into the school and kicks off our cultural festival. Great. And the treats that you have in front of you is one of the cultural food tastings that we have done. That is a carambar candy, and it is actually from France. We've also done many other cultural food tastings: tourtière, smoked meat, macaron, brie, baguette, and cheese. So obviously, it's about enjoying delicious food, but really we always try to infuse it back to the learning. So we look at the historic pieces, we look at the linguistic pieces, and we do a lot of math and science as well while we're enjoying some delicious food. Just to speak to that, to give you an idea, we did a tourtière tasting, which is a meat pie. And so the kids were excited about it, but to amp it up a bit and integrate it into our curriculum, we did a sauce tasting. And so they got to try their tortilla with ketchup, with chili sauce, mustard, no sauce. They voted, we had the percentages, we had tally marks, decimals, and they got to see which was the most popular sauce just to add to the event. Yes. We have, yes, please, thank you. We have about a 4-minute video just to tell you a little bit more about Agnes Davidson and the programs, and then we'll move on to our next activity. that video. All right. So if we can go to the slideshow, Kristen.
Now, Kristen gears up the slideshow. I know the question you're all asking. Gee, Cynthia and Megan sure like dressing up in costumes. And that would be correct. However, today we are going to do a special activity, but one of the reasons we chose to dress up in costumes is when you're teaching in a second language environment, it is really important to engage with the students, have visuals, to have them believe that they are in an authentic setting. And we do that all the time in French immersion because every day is a language learning day in French immersion. So using things like costumes, props, visuals are things we do daily at Agnes Davidson.
Great. Before we get into the full part of the activity, we have just some information that we want to share with you about learning French. So we go next slide. It is called Le Savais-tu, which means did you know? All right, and the first one is French is the most taught language in the world after English.
French is the most spoken language in the world. It's the 5th most spoken language in the world.
Learning a second language helps build your memory, problem solving, and brain function.
French is considered the language of art, love, cooking, and dance. So plié, plié, plié.
And French is one of the 2 official languages of the Olympics and also the Red Cross. Who knew?
French also facilitates the learning of Latin languages.
And French opens up career opportunities. Cynthia and I are both products of French immersion. And yeah, we're just really excited to be here because of those opportunities that we had in French immersion.
You can turn the slide to Here we go.
All right. So this is the audience participation part of our showcase. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some myth busting. So often as administrators or teachers, we have lots of questions that come from the family and community about is French immersion right for my child? So we would just like to take the next 10 minutes or so to bust some of those myths with you. So you're welcome to, sit close together, talk about the questions that we're going to show you, and then you can shout it out. If you think it's a myth, you can say myth. If you think it's a fact, you can say fact. All right. Actually, just one piece to share here. This is something that's very special to Cynthia and I. It says, on that t-shirt, it says, ce moment, when you start penser en deux langues at the same time. So often that's what being bilingual is all about. You're speaking in English and then some French comes out, you're speaking in French and English comes out, and it's just this really natural back and forth piece. That is what being bilingual is. And how many times has a student or a staff said, I was dreaming in French, or I was talking to my friends, and then randomly I said moon in French. And it's just a really neat piece to be able to have multiple languages.
And a lot of the myths you're going to see here are also linked. You'll see on the bottom there's a note. There is a Second Language Research Institute in New Brunswick. It's at the University of New Brunswick. And so we were drawing upon some of their research to make this little game for you today. All right.
So don't be afraid to, I'll give you some quiz time and then you can say myth or fact. All right, so this is something that we often hear. So in the long term, French immersion can have a negative effect on the first language development of the learner.
Yeah. What do you think? Myth.
All right, bingo, that is correct. So at École Agnes Davidson, English language learning begins in grade 3. I think that Mr. Nightingale is proud of that. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So English language arts starts in grade 3. That's when the formal instruction begins. And one piece to note is that there's no researched long-term second language. Sometimes it's noted that there would be a delay in the first language because potentially in the first language if it's English because formal instruction doesn't start. But there's lots and lots of evidence to say that those two catch up over time. Thank you.
All right.
Keep queuing. Can I leave it? I thought there was some.
Okay, no interference. Oh, okay. All right, so if we go to the next slide, we thought we looked around and these are some former French immersion students. And I know I'm looking around at a few parents I see in the build or in this room too that I know I've taught your children as well. And so just to highlight a few that I think just showcase how some of our students can work in both their first and second language. You'll see at the bottom here, we have Samuel Chambers Dumont, he's a lawyer. He works with the Supreme Court of Canada. So his French is very good. We have a lot of athletes on this diagram here. In the middle there, you see Apollo Hess, who was actually the first member of the Kainai Nation to represent at the Olympics. So that's quite exciting. I had him in grade 8. And then over in the center here too, there's Jessica Schulten. So she works for Government of Alberta in both French and English. So both of those, or all of these students have used their second language. And I think it just shows like the good quality of French immersion programming we have right here. And that started at Agnes Davidson. All right, next myth.
So sometimes we have parents that ask this question. My child is struggling and will learning a second language overtax their brain? So do you believe that's a myth or fact? Okay, all right. So you are correct. There's no evidence that it does interfere. Rather, learning a second or a third language for some of our students, or fourth in some cases, it really talks about just increasing that cognitive functioning and that plasticity in the brain to be able to problem solve and connect with two languages. I know even when I taught middle school math and science for years in French immersion, and the knowledge of French was also very useful in science because a lot of words like iron is fer in French. So when we're learning about the periodic table, the French immersion students could connect with that, whereas the English students were scratching their head going, shouldn't it be IR as the symbol? But they were able to be flexible in their thinking. Yes. And one piece we are talking to our families about is levels of proficiency. So sometimes it can be very overwhelming as a family is thinking about a second language to think, oh my goodness, what does this look like in kindergarten? And then all the way to grade 12. And then they start thinking about post-secondary and it can feel very overwhelming. But what we like to talk about is there's all sorts of levels of French proficiency. So some of our students are going to be in the program for a couple of years, and that's going to be a really great learning opportunity. Some of them are going to exit out maybe when they go into middle school for various reasons. Some of our students are going to use their French and order a sub in Quebec or France, or it's going to create a curiosity through the cultural food tastings about other cultures. And then some of our students are going to go on and go to post-secondary, but that is something that we're really trying to share with our families is that that there is varying levels of French proficiency, and that is something to be celebrated, right? If we have a little one that can go to Quebec and say poivron rouge and order a sub, that is really exciting that they were able to use that learning. So different levels of French proficiency is exciting. Yep. And next slide. And so this just talks about that. French is good for the brain. So improved memory, better problem solving skills, increased cognitive flexibility, and then delayed cognitive decline. Next slide.
All right, myth number 3. A student who is struggling academically should not enter French immersion. What do you think? Myth or fact? All right, what do we got? Ooh, a little bit tricky on this one. So this is mostly a myth. So at Agnes Davidson, we start French immersion in kindergarten and grade 1. And the reason for that is there's just a lower cognitive demand. The content is a little bit less, I guess, rigorous. There's lots of visuals. It's not as abstract. It's also a great time because kids are so willing to take chances and risks as opposed to starting later on in the middle school when we're worried about what our peers are going to think. I don't want to look silly. So beginning in kindergarten and grade 1, that is our start point. So a student who is struggling,
will be successful, but here's where the sort of the two sides are. The caveat is, thank you. It's just we have to have supports and we have to have scaffolding in place. So as long as those things are there, they can achieve, like Megan said, at different levels of proficiency. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see in our building, what does that scaffolding and support look like? So just highlight a few things here. Just right in the center where it says Le Langage Nati Nati. When the Building Fact Fluency kits came out, they were all available in English and I believe in Spanish, but we bought them in English in our division, which was great. It's an awesome resource. But to scaffold it for our students who struggle with the language, we made like placemats so that they could follow, they could put the dice in those spots and then use those sentence stems to communicate during gameplay and communicate with their friends so that they're practicing the math, but also practicing language because every day is a good day to learn some French. We have here we have word walls, we pair visuals with our oral instruction. And if you go to the next slide, Kristen, you'll see here different ways teachers do that. Lots of different modes of presentation. Here we're writing on the desk as we're hunting for sounds in books. And then like for writing, just like you would see somewhat in a EAL classroom, you would have sentence stems in there for writing. Well, we want kids to be passionate writers, but they don't have the words yet to do it. So it's really important. This was a insect project they were doing. So they were using pictures and visuals to pick out how they were going to describe their insect. Posters in the classroom. So just lots and lots of language rich environments to scaffold for them. All right. Myth number
four. All right. Second last myth for you today. Children who speak a language other than English at home should not enroll in French immersion. Myth or fact? Great. I like the confidence. That's awesome. So that's true. It is a myth. So at Agnes Davidson, we have a multitude of families. We have Russian-speaking families, Ukrainian-speaking families, Chinese, Arabic, Swahili, and Greek. And so something that we're just trying to do at Agnes Davidson is we realize that for many of our families, learning French is not their second language. It might be their third or fourth language. And again, that just speaks to the brain's plasticity and being able to learn additional languages. Cynthia talked, I believe, about the Latin languages, right? Mm-hmm. French leading then to Spanish or Italian or whatever that might be. So it can be very exciting.
All right. Now, our final myth. So just lay it all out on the table here. Don't hold back. Children with special needs cannot succeed in French immersion. What do you think? Myth. Okay, we have the myth right up there. So there we go. Okay. So yeah, research shows that if a student does have an impairment or a learning disability, they can achieve at the same level as if they were in English, again, provided that supports are in place. So we'd like to highlight a few things that happen at Davidson to support those students. So if we go to the next one, you'll see here we have different things. In the middle, it says SnapType. So that is an app where you can take a picture of any worksheet that a student's working on, and then you can type in or you can speech to text in. So if you're a student who might have a writing impairment, broken arm, maybe they can't use one of their hands, they can use SnapType as a great tool to communicate and participate just like their peers. We also have lots of students. At one point, I think we had 4 students with hearing impairments. So we use the Rogers system, the pass around mic, visuals at recess time. Sometimes you have students with select mutism, so they can point to what they need if they need to communicate with a supervisor on deck. As well as just even up in the top left-hand corner, we've got quite a few students who have autism. And if they need help communicating in the morning, so we'll have like sentence stems and things that they can do to help them communicate with their peers and connect with their classroom community. So lots of different ways.
Slide. Great. And just some interesting information that not everybody knows about French immersion. So French immersion students are required to follow the same English language arts curriculum as students enrolled in the English program. So even though we start in grade 3, our students do follow the same curriculum.
French immersion in all other subjects mirror the exact same content as students enrolled in the English program. And I know that one sometimes is surprising to some people and people in the community because they feel like, well, if they're learning in a second language, surely their curriculum is like reduced or they have like fewer outcomes. But no, it's exactly the same. So they have to do it in their second language.
And that's where the costumes and the music and the actions and all of that come into play to be able to support that, right? What does sedimentary mean in French? That language can be different. And then lastly, students are only benchmarked as an English language learner in grade 3 when they start learning English at school. However, we do look at our students who may have English as an additional language through that lens, but we don't benchmark and sort of follow that process until they start formally learning English in grade 3. All right, next slide, Kristen.
So, y a-t-il des questions?
Yeah. Any questions for us?
Thank you so much for the presentation. This is fantastic. Are there any questions? Craig?
Merci. I actually knew quite a few of the teachers at Agnes Davidson because I went to university with them. Francine Desjardins and the, Krizan. Yeah. One of the things I really liked about your presentation is that I did a report on why the States is failing teaching Spanish-speaking kids that are Mexican or Latinos English is because they start English in grade 1 and there's a disconnect between the family and the students start to think that the parents are stupid because they can't speak English. And the report said if they were taught in their language and introduced like we do French or English at grade 3 or 4, then they're much better to succeed. And so it's the same thing. You have to be immersed in the language and then introduce the English as it comes along. So that's a good part of your program, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Allison?
I don't have a question, but just appreciation for everything that you do. Obviously, I had 2 kids go through Agnes Davidson, and I do strongly believe in French immersion. I think that those that have the opportunity to experience it is life-changing for them, and the opportunities that they get from that are immense. And I was able to go on the grade 8 trip. I know that's not you guys, but it's your kids that come through you guys. So just the experiences and opportunities that our French immersion kids get in our division is amazing. So thank you for everything you guys do, that foundational piece that they get from you guys at Agnes Davidson, then they move through the program. But I've seen lots of great success from our students through the French immersion. So thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Brooke and then Christina.
Yeah, I'm the same as Allison, 2 kids through the system. Unbelievable. I guess you're producing trustees because their kids had such a positive experience. But thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Really, my kids are thriving because of their time at Agnes Davidson. I'm sure that the foundations were very strong for them. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, echo. It's such an important program in our division, and the fact that it goes all the way through, that there's French immersion opportunities through to graduation is so valuable. That we are able to establish a foundation in the French immersion program at Agnes Davidson that allows students to succeed in whatever path they end up taking. And I love the framework of the proficiencies, and I think it's bilingualism and language learning is so interesting in that lens. Actually, I like that was a big reflection for me in terms of that's something that changes over your life, right? That we might revisit French and come back, go away and come back. And so that was so great. And I also wanted to point out for listeners on the the video is I think the other piece to highlight in this program is the strong parent and community aspect of it. One thing I always highlight for Agnes Davidson is the workshop the school council hosts for parents who don't speak French at home to help with homework. I know I did French immersion, and my parents were always like, "You're on your own." And so I think that to add to the myths that I know that you guys pointed out that you don't need to speak French at home necessarily, but that the other myth is that you're not alone. you're not alone if you're a parent who's not speaking French at home, that there are people in the community who will support you to support your child. So
thank you. So thank you for that. That is actually a very nice piece to highlight. Our school council is very passionate about providing opportunities for our parents to learn French immersion. So we are very grateful for that. And it's really neat on morning announcements when we say, and also the parent French classes are happening tonight. So we're going to see some of your families at the school learning French. And then the kiddos are kind of like, oh. So yeah, it's a really neat thing that our school council offers.
Megan and Cynthia, thank you for being here. For the 20 minutes of joy and fun that you brought in educating us today. We can say with confidence that Ecole Agnes Davidson is an incredible school to be part of as a community member, and our division is grateful for the way that you enhance and bring depth to our division and our learning for our students and our families. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. You should note a side note, inside the little candy, there should be a little joke in there. There's some little, so it's like the French version of, I think, is, what was the bubble gum? Bazooka. Yeah. Yes.
Good luck. Right, Meg or Morag, would you please introduce our guest?
Sure. So we've got Kevin here from Winston Churchill. Welcome, Kevin. It's good to see you. He is requesting approval to take approximately 20 grade 9 to 12 students on an international trip to Brisbane, Australia from March 25th to April 6, 2027. Information regarding the educational benefits of the trip and proposed itinerary are attached. The estimated cost per student is approximately $3,000 to $4,000 in Canadian funds. And I'll turn it over to you to give a brief little overview, Kevin.
Hi, thanks for having me. And yes, tough act to follow. This is something that we have done before. So if you were unaware, in 2024, we took a group of students. I believe there was 18 of us who went over. And this is a bit of a reciprocal situation because we've hosted the Australians in 2019. We hosted them again in 2023, and they're coming this fall in November of 2026. So we have this relationship that we've established over a number of years. So the intention is to kind of, again, reciprocate that. And they're, of course, very gracious in hosting us in their homes and in their school, which helps us reduce the cost significantly. When they are traveling to us, they have quite a spectacular event. They're here for 3 weeks. They spend a week here in Canada and 2 weeks in California. They go enjoy Disneyland. And they are bringing 38 people this time. So they're bringing 3 teams and the adults with them. So yes, they are very excited to come to us in November. And so we're hopeful to return to them in 2027.
Are there any questions for Kevin? Cheryl?
Thanks, Kevin. I read through your package, and a couple of things struck me as very positive. So first of all, I would like to say thank you for doing fundraising. I think that helps make it more available to students that may not have the means to pay. And I really appreciate that you're doing those kinds of things. And you should really make sure that Garrett knows to remind us board members to participate. In the past, this subsidies for other kids have been offered as a payment plan. So I'm really glad to see that you're doing something a bit more active. My other question is, so you've done this before. I wasn't familiar with the number of times. About when I read that the kids would be billeted, these homes are vetted, and this is all very safe. And
yes, we make our hosts at Northside Christian College aware of our vetting process, and so they do follow their process as well as the paperwork that we have in terms of making sure that these are good homes. Okay. And contact information is shared, and last time they even shared pictures of where they would be and gave contact information in advance, and I shared with parents protocols so that they were very aware how to handle things.
Okay, very good. You've answered my next question, which was why you're going to Easter service. But if it's a Christian hosting, then that kind of makes sense. So is this program just limited to kids of that belief, or is it open to other kids? And do you get a cross section of kids?
Yes, it is open. It's open to all people. And even when we had that opportunity, we went in 2024, there was alternate opportunities for students if they were not wanting to participate in that activity. And again, parents were given advance notice that this would happen. And so when we went in 2024, there were no people and no parents who said they didn't want their children to present it. But as is the case, we do say, yes, if you are not wanting to participate in that weekend service on the Sunday, then we find alternate activities for them, and they're also aware of that too. So it's not a surprise if we have to pursue that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I am looking for a motion, please. Christina?
I move that the Winston Churchill High School trip to Brisbane, Australia in March 2027 be approved by the board on the condition that all division policies and procedures are strictly followed, and with the understanding that future travel advisories and/or vaccination requirements may affect the trip's ability to proceed.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Those in favor? And that is carried. I hope everyone shows up to the airport with a passport. Ooh. Hope it's a successful year this time around.
Yeah, we did navigate a couple of those, but I'm curious that nobody asked if they could attend, because that's typically what happens when I say we're going to Australia. People say, "Hey, can I go on the record of saying me too?" Because that was the hardest part.
Yeah,
was returning, because it is a beautiful place. It is. There are large spiders. Not in the houses. Don't worry about it. But there are large spiders. But yes, it's a beautiful place.
I did ask at the sidelines if I could go. So just so we're clear.
Well, thank you for continuing to give the opportunity. I think it's really incredible, the relationship that you're maintaining with the students and the school down in Australia. So thank you. Thank you for joining us, ATA reps online. Thanks, Kevin. All right, we will now move on to 11.3 on our agenda, Student Leadership Liaison Report, which was pulled from our consent agenda. Christina.
Thank you. I think we all have a tough time following that act now. So here we are. The Student Leadership Liaison role is a ongoing role of the board. The trustees typically assign during the organizational meeting an individual trustee to be the rep for the liaison for student leadership within our division. This has been fairly loose, frankly. There's not much structure around what this involves. And so having been in the role a couple of times now, I generally simply reach out to our division principal, who is kind of our liaison for leadership opportunities within the division, within the context of leadership, like capital L, typically leadership classes, clubs, or councils, recognizing that outside of that capital L leadership, there is also significant leadership happening in a variety of clubs, classrooms, across all the ages of our students. So within the context of this conversation, really just talking about leadership classes, clubs, or councils. At this point is generally classes from what we're gathering, what I'm gathering. I've noted that through the conversations with the board at various planning periods, we've identified that engaging with student voice at a governance level has emerged as a priority for our division as part of our consultation with stakeholders. Students are very engaged at a school level, like there's lots of opportunities, both classes, clubs, etc. But we've identified that as a board, our responsibility is to engage with all of our stakeholders, and arguably students are the prime stakeholders. It is their education. And so what I'm looking for today is either conversation or simply direction so we can get started on maybe getting some more work done in this area. The report is before you, but what I'm looking for, and maybe I'll just move it. This is my big preamble. I'd like to move that the board direct the student leadership liaison to work with interested board members and the superintendent or designate to establish at least one strategic board engagement opportunity with student leadership in 26-27 school year, with the goal of developing ongoing student engagement opportunities at the governance level within this board term.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Christina, for bringing this forward. I will open it up for discussion. Cheryl.
I think this is a very valuable opportunity, and I'm wondering if you could give us some more information on what kinds of opportunities you think are appropriate.
Yeah, what I would like to sort of get the mandate to explore is what this looks like in other divisions. I think there's opportunities, for example, of having reps from student leadership existing groups present to the board even once a year, or inviting them to present to our board meetings. Certainly there's like big versions where there's like student reps on the board or participating in board meetings in an active way on a regular basis. I would say we're probably far from that. But even just things like asking each leadership class to provide feedback about relevant policies to student experience, things like that. So those are some examples I can think of that I've seen, but I would like the mandate to explore that more fully with the permission and support of the board and anybody who wants to participate.
Brooke.
Yeah, it's became very evident to me in the last week or so is that the rights of students inside the classroom is very evident now. Like as what teachers can teach and what they can talk about is being, I guess, somewhat rejigged, I guess you could say. The real rights in the classroom belong with the student, and anything we can do to support those rights is imperative, I believe, in there. So I'm all for any kind of, we used to have a district school council that was like the parent council, but it was students, and it was quite effective. I don't know what happened to that. Somewhere along the line, we dropped doing that, but that would probably be a great place to start. And as I've been thinking about our town hall and our, one of the positives that comes out of the town hall every year is the student participation. And how can we build off that and maybe have that conversation, that engagement with just students, and then expand that further. So I'm all for this.
Allison and then Tiffany.
Thank you. And I appreciate that this recommendation was in here. I really do believe that we need to look for ways that we can explore with our students for them to be involved strategically with our with our board and really at that governance level. So keeping it at that is certainly where I would like to keep it in relation to the board. If they want to do other activities, that's awesome. But I think that having this opportunity to work together with our students and really involve them in the governance aspect of how boards operate is really important for student leadership. So let me know how I can help in any way.
Tiffany.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I went to Winston Churchill's student council or parent council meeting, and a student actually came and had actually really good feedback and was really engaged in the meeting. I would love to see more encouragement of that. I think we should have students at our school council meetings as well. And so just as another way to have the students' voices heard, and that I think that would be another way we could, support them. So yeah, because I found it definitely took us in a different direction, but it was a lot of great input. So
Thank you, Tiffany.
Craig.
I can agree with most of it. However, I'd like more clear or more understanding of the governance level. I do believe that Tiffany had a point that I agreed with, and in my previous experience, we did have students at school council, and they were able to give their input even from elementary up. One of my concerns is sometimes, even though we want to have it all a wide variety, some of our kids that we should hear from aren't given that opportunity because they're busy academically or sports and that. And I'm a little leery of setting up something that we only get a certain viewpoint from certain students. And I really want to make sure that if we're going to go down this road, that we make sure that we have students across the spectrum. Like we have to make sure that we're hearing from everybody and not just a certain group here or there. And so I do have a little bit of concern about that. And it depends, I guess, on our makeup as we go through it. But I'd just like a little more information on the governance level, because I can call me old fashioned, but I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes they're good and I listen to students and their concerns, but at a governance level, and I know some boards have got students involved in their board meetings as a student trustee, and I'm not sure if that's effective because of all the things we have to discuss. And so I'd really like more information about that before I fully commit to this recommendation. I think it's great in the bubble, but and I probably will vote for it, but I want that understanding that we need to have more information and it has to come back to the board for further development and acknowledgement.
Thank you, Craig. Allison.
I was just going to add, and Tiffany certainly reminded me of it, is just in regards to the legislation that does exist for school council regulation. And just being recently at the School Council Association conference in AGM, just really that the legislation does state that a high school student is an active participant at their school council meetings, and that if that is part of the work that you can be doing with them is to really get that on a regular basis, that our school councils do have that high school representation from students at the school council meetings. I think that would be a huge move forward as well. So I know that's not necessarily exactly what your motion is, but I do think that as part of the work that you're doing with them, I think that for us, when we look at the governance part, like that's hugely, it's right there in black and white. So thank you.
Christina.
I'll just respond. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think I agree. The challenge of student voice is the diversity of thought among students, right? With so many students in a division, How do we hear from the most representative groups we can so we can best support the various needs of young people? And so certainly would be part of that consideration as, is it a broad engagement? Is it targeted engagement to try to reach everybody who might miss that, those types of things. And to your point, I agree. I think I wrote to establish at least one strategic board engagement. I would happily change that to recommend to the board at least one strategic engagement, just to assure that it would come back to the board for approval prior to implementation. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll update that.
And you'll consider that a friendly amendment?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. That work?
Yeah. Any other comments? Thank you, Christina, for submitting this. I was very excited. I know it's imperative that we have student voice, and student voice has been missing. We've had it in small pieces, but I do think there's room for creating depth in our seeking out student voice. And I do appreciate the within the motion, and I think this speaks a little to Craig's concern that he noted that you're starting with student leadership in 26-27, but the goal is to develop ongoing student engagement. And I certainly hope that that includes a exploration of how to get the voices that aren't typically heard. I know in leadership, in student levels and adult levels, there are voices that are ever present, and then there are voices that are ever absent. And even on the adult level within our division, we are seeking how to engage members of our community to gain their perspective. And so I think it's mirrored in our student population because of the diversity there. So I will be supporting this motion and look forward to the work, and would be more than willing to step in to help with this work. Any other comments? Brooke.
I'll just make one more. The best decisions made are the ones that involve the people that affect those decisions the most. And I believe that students are our number one stakeholder, and the more we involve them, the better.
Thank you, Brooke. Before we move to the vote, Christina, can I have clarification as to what the motion will be?
The motion is as presented, except for replacement of the word establish with recommend to the board.
Recommends. To recommend at least one strategic board engagement opportunity. Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. Thank you. Yep.
I just ask Mike for clarity. Are you okay with how I wrote it for the superintendent? I assume you can just designate it too.
Yeah. All right. Seeing no more hands, those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, we move on to 11.4, Victoria Park Summer School fees.
Okay, thank you. At our previous board meeting, we reviewed school fees and had an outstanding action item to return with a review of some outstanding items. And so I'd like to move to approve and these details will be added to the minutes, right? The language, okay. I'd like to move that the board approve the following fees for Victoria Park Summer School Program. A mass intake distributed learning program and administration fee of $25 for HCS 3000, $50 for one course, COM 20, PE 10, PE 20, or $75 for any 2 or 3 of the above courses, as well as an individual intake distributed learning and or diploma course program administration fee, $100 for an additional refundable textbook deposit of $50 may apply where required. Maybe I'll stop at that first. If it just okay. As well, I further recommend that the board include a specific clause addressing summer school fees in the next update of the school fees policy.
Thank you. And that motion will be added to the agenda post-meeting, so everyone will be able to read that. I will open it up for discussion. Christina.
So just as context, the reason I'm willing to put it forward as a motion is because I believe it, the assignment of fees with regards to the administration of the programming rather than the education delivery of the program, as well as clear articulation of the purpose and use of the funds, as well as our ability to then demonstrate accountability for the use of those funds, complies with both the spirit and language of our fee policy, and both allows for access to summer school programming that is instrumental in many students' successful graduation, as well as helping reduce the barriers where we can.
Thank you, Christina. Any other comments or questions? Craig.
Yes, I'm going to support this. Number one, as we've learned, it's also in the regulations, you're allowed to do that. And secondly, I think it's important to understand that if a student can't afford it, they will waive the fees. So but we want to collect those fees so that we can take care of that extra work that some of these admin assistants and have to do so that they can be successful, because it's a wildly successful program in our division.
Thank you, Craig. Allison.
Thank you. I appreciate all the work that has gone into this. I know that it's been a lot back and forth and just trying to look at what options are available. I do feel that this is operational in nature, and it is in regards to an administration fee. And I don't necessarily feel that that should be for a student to get, fundamentally for a student to be able to get an education that they need to pay a fee. I understand that we offer waiver opportunity, but I would strongly encourage our board to look in the future at the shortfall that the school isn't receiving from the CEU funding, that we look to ways that our board could fund this instead, so that we truly do provide basic education for all of our students. So unless I'm convinced otherwise, today I will probably be voting against this. With that vote of no does not mean that I don't support the work that is happening at Victoria Park. I do believe it's an opportunity for our students, and the work that they do there is absolutely amazing. I have had children of my own go through there and know many community students that have gone through, and absolutely hugely valuable the work that they do and what they provide for our students. So it's not that I don't support that. I just really strongly believe that basic education should not cost. And I think that for the dollars that we're being told of what this full amount is, I think that as a board, we should be looking further into our budget to find the funds to be able to support that. So at this moment in time, I'll be voting against it, but I am more than open to be convinced otherwise.
Thank you, Allison. Cheryl.
Thanks. I agree with a lot of what Allison has said. I do think education access should be free. I also recognize the conflict we are in with not being properly funded for this. And unfortunately, the funds have to come from somewhere. I appreciate that this is a very clearly delineated fee that has nothing to do with the delivery of the education, but rather is restricted to the administration of this, because it is extra administration to offer this. And so it is a conflict as well for me about access to free education and fees. But in this case, I don't see how I could not support the fee, because I recognize that the money has to come from somewhere.
Thank you, Cheryl. Any other comments? All right, the motion is on the floor. Those in favor? Those opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, we will move ahead to division highlights. And we will pause at 5 o'clock. Should we still be highlighting to see if there is anyone joining us for public forum online? So we will start with Craig.
Okay. Attended Public School Boards Association committee meeting, District School Council, went to Park Meadows School Council. I actually went to Epic Day also, and it was quite exciting. Xanadu grade 7 performance, I was able to watch. Went to the ice celebration we had. And since I wasn't here last time, I actually saw a lot of 4A, 5A basketball, which was quite enjoyable. And I've been able to get into a couple of rugby matches, and the weather wasn't brutal. It was quite nice. So that's my report.
That's always a win when you're watching rugby. Christina.
This is why every time I get a liaison school after Craig, I'm like, just FYI, I'm not coming to as much as Craig. He's so good. Yeah, I also got to enjoy Xanadu. I love going to all the performances, and I think I say this every time. I love going to them like in a row in the season and seeing as kids age, like the performance skill and capacity. And this year, my favorite thing about the Xanadu performance, they had the grade 5s come over to be part of like the ensemble, choir and dance group, and it was so great. So, because Xanadu, is taking place at Fairbairn, and so they had students from grade 5 join them, and I thought that was such a cool crossover, and probably it relieved a lot of the fears for kiddos coming in grade 6. So that was great.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks. I would say the highlight for me this month was Education Week, and there were many great things going on, but one of my delights was being able to go to some of the schools where the ATA presented awards to teachers. And these teachers were nominated by parents and by students and so on. And just to watch, the classes get excited about having, their teacher won, and then they got to have a pizza party and all of this. But what really struck me is there was a teacher at Chinook who received an award, and oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. I can't remember who he was, but I was blown away by the respect that the students in that class demonstrated towards him. And it was a student-initiated award, and they presented the award alongside the ATA and the entire class. It was just, it was very moving for me to see that environment in action. So I think that was the highlight of my month.
Thank you, Cheryl. Allison.
Thank you. I will also share about going to see Xanadu. One of the biggest pieces for me was really about the inclusion. And there were so many students there that everybody had a part and everybody knew that they had a part. And just really when we look also at the transitions from between our elementary and our middle school, just that kids got to see and feel what the middle school meant, and in ways rather than just a tour. Not that a tour is not good, but I just think that they got to see it in a different way. So I think that that was really important. The ICE scholarship celebration, I think just being able to, as much as it was a shift to change to what it was, I think that it was a fabulous ceremony where we were able to really celebrate the students that had received the award previously, and just it was much more intimate, and the families were there and we got to hear from each of them, and it was absolutely fabulous. And then I just wanted to give a shout out for Senator Buchanan, that going to their school council meeting, and just the those parents are so engaged in public education, and just the importance of ensuring that there's a space and a place for every student, and that we need to ensure that we have that public education is a priority for us. And I think that that was definitely something that was emphasized at their school council meeting, and those parents are certainly engaged in what education means for them and their families and their students. So just an appreciation to the families and parents that come out, and the staff that were there at Senator Buchanan School Council. Thanks.
Thanks, Allison. Brooke.
Well, I attended Wilson School Council and the Westminster School Council, so the north side is well represented. I did attend the GSA conference in Edmonton on the weekend. This was the 15th year. I did attend the first 4 years. It's changed dramatically. I think back in 2013 or so, we took a bus of students from Lethbridge, and there were buses of students from all over the province. That's changed dramatically. It's the resources are all still there, but really the participation is just Edmonton students. But there was a student at the U of A there who expressed how much she enjoyed growing up on the north side and going to Wilson, Churchill, and Senator Buchanan, and how that formed what she's taken at the U of A. And she was just very complimentary of her K-12 education in Lethbridge. And she was naming teachers and people, and just, it was really heartwarming to run into somebody at that level of their education and be able for her to reflect on her time in Lethbridge Public.
Thank you, Brooke. Tiffany.
So I got to attend and be part of the ICE showcase, and I really was blown away by the talent and of the students that were previous winners of the scholarship. And I just thought that really speaks to our students and what they're capable of. And so the other thing that I did was what I mentioned earlier, went to the Winston Churchill School Council, and I just really was so impressed with the student that came and just had such great feedback, and I just thought that was great. So yeah, those are the two highlights for me.
Thank you, Tiffany. And we'll just take a quick pause and see if there is anyone joining us for public forum online. All right, and seeing no one, we'll just keep right on going with our highlights. I'll end this with a couple of highlights for myself. I was able to sit as one of the judges for the Proby Elementary Air Band competition, and that was a lot of fun. It was a 2-hour event, and there were some very talented, brave, extroverted, creative students that performed for the school community. So it was a lot of fun to see what they presented to everyone, and just the excitement and the pride of the students there. I was also able to take in the One Acts festival. So that's an annual festival where students, there is a student-led and directed one-act play from Chinook, Churchill, Winston Churchill, and LCI. And the chosen winner of the one act gets to perform their play at Provincials, which will be held here in Lethbridge this year. And so this year, congratulations goes to LCI and their play this year. So I was able to attend and connect with parents at council meetings. I also attended the ICE showcase, and I was also privileged to be able to attend some of the student leadership engagement sessions that were held. And it was just always a privilege to hear student voice and learn from their perspectives and their experiences. All right, we will move on to information items. 14.1 ASBA Emergent Position Statement Submission. Christina.
Yeah, and I realized maybe I should have put this in action. Do we need to vote on this? Okay. So then before you is just information about the submission that our board has prepared and submitted to the Alberta School Boards Association. Every year, or before general meetings, Alberta School Boards Association welcomes position statements to be considered by the member boards at the general meetings. Typically, these are submitted well in advance. However, in situations where a major new development which could significantly impact education in Alberta occurs, ASBA also welcomes emergent position statements. So our board has submitted the position statement attached. entitled Supporting Children's Right to Fully Funded K-12 Public Education in Alberta as an emergent resolution in response to the announcement of the October 19th, 2026 referendum, which includes questions which have the power to exclude some of the students who currently access fully funded public education in Alberta.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Craig?
Do we have to move that in as a motion?
We can. Yep, please.
I feel like it would just be tidier. I'd like to move that the board affirm that the Lethbridge School Division, what did I say? I'd like to move that the board affirm the Lethbridge School Division move the emergent position statement supporting children's right to access fully funded K-12 public education in Alberta at the upcoming ASBA Spring General Meeting 2026 as submitted on April 17th, 2026.
Thank you. Yes, that's cleaner. Thank you. I will open it up for discussion. Any comments? Craig?
Well, number one, I'm going to vote against this because we don't know what the outcome of the referendum is. And so it's sort of like we're making a resolution that might not even be in effect. Secondly, I know that in any school division, we're not going to deny any child the right to education, even if we're not funded for them. So my personal feeling is that I can't support this as an emergent motion. As a motion long term, like in the fall, I could support it, but not as an emergent motion.
Thank you, Craig. Any other comments? Brooke?
Well, I would think that the public that's going to be voting on these referendum questions, need to know as much as possible about the questions as they can. This one particular referendum question is quite obvious that if we deny education to a bunch of kids in our city, that there'll be a bunch of kids wandering around the city without an education. So it's very important that the public understands what this question is asking and what it means for us. So I will be supporting.
Any other comments? Christina?
Thank you, Craig. I want to clarify, it is in the package, however, for the public watching, that the resolution suggests that it asks the member boards of ASBA to ask ASBA to advocate to the government of Alberta for removal of the use of education in the referendum questions 2, 3, and 4, which would potentially limit school-age students' access to education in Alberta, either by time, fee, or otherwise ineligibility, and recognizing the ordinary residents of students to be eligible for fully funded education.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Those in favor? And those opposed? And that is carried, and Tiffany was opposed. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, Tiffany, was I wrong?
No, I was in support.
Sorry, there's a delay in the wave. Thank you, I appreciate that. All right, we move on to 14.2, Budget Survey 2026.
Okay, so attached in the report here for trustee and public review. So we do have the budget survey summary. So the budget survey was released and available from March 11th to March 23rd. We did receive a total of 163 responses. So generally what we try to take from the budget survey is you'll see the questions in there and then attach it to the budget deliberations for information for trustees to help review and inform part of your decision-making process as we proceed throughout the budget. So it is important for us when we do these surveys and we ask for the public feedback that we also do present it to the public to say, hey, this is what the public at large said. So again, we had this survey out for roughly 12 days, 163 responses. It is less than we did receive last year, but we do have the feedback in the summary here. So I'm not going to go through the responses individually, but I would be happy to comment or take questions on any of the information in the report.
I will open it up to questions. Okay, seeing none, thank you for presenting it in this month's agenda. Oh, sorry, Christina, I did not see your hand.
Not really a question, but I just wanted to draw attention to the, I don't know, it doesn't have a page, sorry, where it says acknowledgement, you said, and then statement 1 was acknowledgement of budget constraints and efforts. I think it just reflects the deep engagement in the community about, there's been a lot more sort of in-depth understanding among the public, I think, about how education funding works, the complexity of it, as well as the constraints in the division. And so I just want to reflect that is a meaningful response thread.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thank you very much, Kyle. We have no correspondence sent, and 16.1, we have one correspondence received from the letter from the Minister of Childcare and Education. That is before you. And that brings us to the end of our agenda. If I could please have a motion to extend past 6 o'clock should we need, I would appreciate that. Allison, thank you. Those in favor? That is carried. And may I have a motion to move in camera, please? Christina, those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.